Hi friends, welcome to our YouTube channel Naraj Academy. The main aim of this lecture is to discuss about the AP SPDCL questions of 2019 AE of EE in a very detailed manner. And if you like the content of our channel, then please to like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon button. So whenever we upload a new video, direct notification comes to mobile. If any improvements in our lectures, then please to comment in the comment section. We will definitely include all those improvements in the coming lectures. So why to waste more time? So let's get started. So now we are going to solve the 21 question. See the question here. A feedback amplifier is designed with a closed loop voltage gain of 100 and the feedback factor is 9. Then the open loop gain will be. So in the question they are given the closed loop voltage gain which is 100 and also the feedback factor is 9. And we need to find what is the open loop gain. See, in this question they have not given whether it is a positive feedback amplifier or the negative feedback amplifier. If they are not given anything specified, then by default we are going to assume that feedback is a negative feedback. So therefore out of the 4 options, not even one option is correct. So therefore here no option is correct and we will solve the accurate answer now. So this is a negative feedback amplifier where A is called as the open loop gain and beta is the feedback factor which is 9, and this is the input is R of S and the output is C of S. So they are given this, the closed loop voltage gain is 100 and we have to find what is the open loop voltage gain, means A we need to figure out, and the feedback factor value is beta is equal to 9. So as this is a negative feedback, so therefore the overall voltage gain will be A by 1 plus A into beta. So therefore here A value ACL which is 100 and A value we need to figure out, and beta value we know which is 9. So substitute here, and there is only one equation with only one unknown. So now we are going to do the cross multiplication. So therefore 100 plus 900 A is equal to A. So this 900 goes to the right side, we are going to get 100 is equal to minus 899 A. So therefore A is equal to minus 100 by 899 is equal to minus 0.1111. So therefore the value of the open loop voltage gain will be minus of 0.111. This is the accurate solution of this question, but this answer is not present in any of the options. So therefore we can say here this is the correct solution of this question. So now we are going to solve the 22nd question. See the question here. The characteristic equation of a second order system is S square plus 6s plus 9 is equal to 0. The system is. So based on this characteristic equation, we have to find what type of system is this, whether it is an undamped system or overdamped system or critical damped system or undamped system. So therefore out of these 4 options, option C, critical damped system, is the correct solution of this question. So let's solve this numerical. So in the question they are given the characteristic equation which is S square plus 6s plus 9 is equal to 0. So now we are going to compare this with the standard second order characteristic equation which is S square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square is equal to 0. This is said to be the standard characteristic equation of a second order system. So by comparing these 2 equations, we are going to get here 2 zeta omega n is equal to 6 and omega n square is equal to 9. If omega n square is equal to 9, then omega n will be 3. So substitute this omega here, which is 2 into zeta into, in place of omega n I am going to substitute 3. So therefore 3 is equal to 6. So 2 to the 6, 6's get cancels. So finally we are going to get zeta is equal to 1. Here zeta is going to tell you what type of damping we are going to present in this system. Suppose if zeta is equal to 0, we are going to get no damping system, means the oscillations will never die out, will always present for the infinite time of duration. And for 0 less than zeta less than 1 means under damping, yes, the oscillations are going to reduce as time goes on. And also when zeta is equal to 1, we say it's a critical damping. In critical damping there will be no oscillations in the output, and also for zeta greater than 1 it is called as over damping, means the oscillations will not be present but system will be very sluggish, means a slow response we are going to get for zeta greater than 1. So this is called as a, for particular values of zeta, what is the damping we are going to say. So if you see carefully here, zeta is equal to 1, so it is a critical damping. So therefore whatever the system we are going to get, we are going to get no oscillations, so it is called as a critical damping. So no oscillations we are going to get, and the response is also going to come to steady state in a very easy amount of time. So within less time the response we are going to get the steady state value in a less amount of time, we are going to get the steady state value without any oscillations. This is called as a critical damping. So now we are going to solve the 23rd question. See the question here. The final value of the function f of t whose Laplace transform is f of s is equal to 2 into s plus 1 by s into s plus 3 into s plus 5 whole square. So for this Laplace transform we have to find what is the final value we need to figure out. So what are the four options? Option A 2 by 75 is the correct solution of this question. So let's solve this numerical. So this is the function they have given. F of s is equal to 2 into s plus 1 by s into s plus 3 into s plus 5 whole square. So for this Laplace transform we have to find what is the final value we need to figure out. So before we proceed to the numericals, first thing is we have to draw this S-plane diagram, means zero plot, zero pole diagram we have to draw. So here the poles are here 0, minus 3 and minus 5 and minus 5. So therefore these are the poles. So I have drawn the poles which cross mark 0, minus 3 and minus 5. And also the 0 is minus 1. So therefore at 0 I kept a minus 1. So here basically if you want to find what is the steady state value, always you have to draw. The first thing is the pole 0 plot you have to draw. From that you have to see that if any pole which is going to right side of the S-plane or not. See, if you see carefully, there is not even one pole in the right half of S-plane. So we can conclude that here there will be no increasing exponential. So therefore the finally will always you are going to get a steady state value. Suppose in the pole 0 plot, if any of the one pole if it is lying in the RHS of S-plane, suppose if any of the pole, suppose let me assume this is a 2. So here there is a one pole, at least if among all the poles, if any one pole lies in the RHS of S-plane, then always the steady state value will be infinity, because the system is an unstable system, because it has increasing exponentials. As time goes on increases, the exponential value goes on increases, so steady state value will be infinity. So that is the reason always you have to check the pole 0 plot. If any of one pole is in the right of S-plane, no matter whatever the remaining poles, then we can say the system is said to be unstable system. So therefore final value will be infinity. But in this diagram you can see not even one pole is in the right half of S-plane. So therefore we can conclude that this system is doesn't have any increasing exponential. So therefore finally we are going to get some finite value of the steady state value. So for that, after knowing this one, now you have to apply the formula, which is f of infinity is equal to limit s tends to 0 s into f of s. This you have to apply the formula only after confirming that the system is a stable one. Otherwise you don't have to apply this formula. See, all the poles are in left half of S-plane. So I can conclude that there are no increasing exponential terms. So steady state will be a finite value. Then I can apply this formula. Then only we need to apply this formula. So therefore limit s tends to 0 s into f of s. So f of s value I have substitute here. So s is common, so therefore I am going to get cancelled. So therefore I am going to remove this one. So in place of s I need to substitute 0. So therefore I am going to get here 2 into 1 by 3 into 5 whole square. So finally we are going to get 2 by 3 into 25, which is 2 by 75. This is the final steady state value which is going to obtain by this f of s. So therefore this is the correct solution of this question. So finally I am repeating again. See, first you have to draw the pole 0 plot, and then you have to confirm that if all the poles are in the left half of S-plane, then only you have to apply this formula. Otherwise, if any of one pole if it is lying in RHS of S-plane, then by default the steady state value we can say it is infinity. So therefore here all the poles are in left half of S-plane, then yes, the system is a stable one, means it is going to have some finite value. Then we have to apply this formula, and if you solve this one we are going to get this solution. This is the correct solution of this question. So now we are going to solve the 24th question. See the question here. The unit step steady state error of a system whose forward path transfer function g of s is equal to 120 into s plus 2 by s plus 3 into s plus 4 and unity feedback is. So here they have given a g of s and also h of s value will be equal to 1. So based on this here, for a unit step input, so we have to find what is the steady state error we need to find. So at steady state, what is the error between the output and the desired value we need to figure out. So what are the four options? Option B is the correct solution of this question, which is 1 by 21 is the correct solution of this question. So let's solve this numerical. So basically this is a feedback system where input is R of s and output is C of s. where E of S is called as the error. So therefore here, based on this here, in the question they are given unity feedback system. So therefore H of S is equal to 1, and also they are given G of S value also they are given in the question. So based on this here, if the input is a unit step means 1 into U of t. If this is the case, then what is the steady state error we need to find? Means the steady state error means what is the difference between the input and the output at steady state value we need to figure out. So therefore if you see carefully here, E of S is equal to R of S minus H of S into C of S. This response will be here H of S into C of S. So therefore this is the response. E of S is equal to R of S minus C of S into H of S. But here C of S is equal to E of S into G of S. So C of S is equal to E of S into H of S. So in place of C of S, I have substituted E of S into G of S. So now I have rearranged this equation. So finally I have got which is E of S is equal to R of S by 1 plus G of S into H of S. So here in the question, steady state value we need to figure out. Steady state error we need to figure out. So therefore by using the final value theorem, which is limit S tends to 0 S into E of S. So in place of E of S, I am going to substitute this equation, but R of S is equal to 1 by S. So S's get cancels. So finally we are going to get here 1 by, so for finally we are going to get this one 1 by 1 plus G of S into H of S. So here in this is the only thing which in terms of S. So I have to substitute here limit S tends to 0. So I have made like this 1 by 1 plus limit S tends to 0 G of S into H of S. This limit S tends to 0 G of S H of S is called as a proportionality constant, which is KB. So I am going to replace this one by KB. So therefore 1 by 1 plus KB. KB value I need to figure out, and then I have to substitute here. Then we are going to get the steady state value. So KP is equal to limit S tends to 0 G of S into H of S. As H of S value is equal to 1, so therefore we are going to get only G of S. So G of S value is 120 into S plus 2 by S plus 3 into S plus 4. The H of S value will be equal to 1. So in place of S I am going to replace S by 0. So therefore 120 into 2 by 3 into 4. So if you solve this one, we are going to get 20. So 20 is called as the proportional constant. So substitute here, which is 1 by, in place of KB substitute 20. So therefore 1 by 1 plus 20. So 1 by 1 plus 20 is equal to 1 by 21. So steady state error value is equal to 1 by 21 is the correct solution of this question. So therefore this is the steady state error between the desired input and the desired output at the steady state value. So now we are going to solve the 25th question. See the question here. The characteristic equation of a feedback system is given by S cube plus 13S square plus 30S plus K is equal to 0, and which of the following statements is not true. So basically they are given a characteristic equation, and then here they are given there are 4 options. Out of them which is not true. So here option A, the system is stable for 0 less than K less than 390, and option B, the system oscillates for K is equal to 390, and option C is the frequency of oscillations is root 30 radians per second, and option D, the auxiliary equation in the Rhodes tabulation is 13S plus 390. So out of the 4 options, option D, which is a wrong solution. It is not a correct, and we will see why only D is wrong and remaining other why it is correct. We will see now. So this is the characteristic equation, S cube plus 13S square plus 30S plus K is equal to 0. So now I am going to make a Routh criteria table. So S cube, S square, S to the power of 1 and S to the power of 0. So first 2 rows I need to fill. So based on these 2 rows I need to fill the remaining rows. So therefore here S cube, the S cube coefficient is 1, and next we have to take the S to the power of 1 coefficient, which is 30. Here S square coefficient is 13, and the next coefficient we have to take S to the power of 0. So therefore K into S to the power of 0. So the coefficient is K. So based on this we have to fill the remaining values in the Routh criteria table. So 13 into 30 minus 1 into K by 13, which is 390 minus K by 13, and this is 0. And the next table if you want to fill, which is this value into K minus 13 into 0 by this value. Finally we are going to get K, we are going to get here. This is the table we have got after solving the Routh criteria. So based on this here, if the system wants to be stable, there must not be any sign change in the first column of this one. So this is the first column, right? So for this first column there must not be any sign changes, means they all has to be positive value, because these 2 are positive. So therefore we need the remaining 2 values in this column also must be greater than 0, means they have to be positive values. So therefore for stable, therefore this has to be greater than 0, and also this has to be greater than 0, then only it will be a positive value. So K greater than 0 and 390 minus k by 13 greater than 0. These two conditions has to be satisfied, then only the column will be always positive. So therefore no sign changes, so therefore no rows will be in the RHS of S plane, so system will be a stable one. So therefore I am going to take this 13 to the right side, so we are going to get 390 minus k greater than 0, so k I am going to take the right side, so 390 greater than k, or we can say k less than 390. So these are the two constraints, which is k greater than 0 and also k less than 390. So I am going to draw this diagram. So this value with respect to k, so k greater than 0 is this one, and k less than 390, so k less than 390 means this is the region. So for these two graphs, the common region is, this is the region. So this is the common region in which these both constraints are satisfied. So this is the only region where both the constraints are satisfied. This is what we really required. So therefore for 0 less than k less than 390, then both the constraints are positive, so therefore the system is always stable. So system is always stable. So here I want to find suppose I want to know at what value of k the system is marginally stable, means the roots are going to lie on the j omega axis. I need to figure out. So therefore here we have to take always the final value we have to take. So therefore k is equal to 390. If you substitute k is equal to 390, this value will become 0. So whenever a row is 0, a complete row is 0, the next upper part that is called as the auxiliary equation. So this column is totally equal to 0 when k is equal to 390. So we can conclude that always we have to take the upper row above this one. So then this is called as the auxiliary equation. So we have to write the auxiliary equation for this row. So therefore 13a square plus k is equal to 0. 13a square plus k is equal to 0 is called as the auxiliary equation. So if you solve this one, 13a square is equal to minus k. So a square is equal to minus k by 13. But I have already told k is equal to 390. So therefore minus 390 by 13 is minus 30. So s is equal to plus or minus j under root over 30. But s is equal to plus or minus j omega. So therefore we can conclude that omega is equal to root 30 radians per second. This is called as the frequency of oscillations whenever the system is marginally stable. Marginally stable means the roots are going to lie on the imaginary axis. When the roots are lying on the imaginary axis, there will be an oscillations. So there will be oscillations in the response for infinite time. So this, what is the oscillations frequency? What is the oscillation frequency? The oscillation frequency at particular value of k is equal to 390, which is root over 30 radians per second, is the frequency of oscillations. We can say the system is marginally stable also for the value of k is equal to 390. So here, and system oscillates for k is equal to 390. Yes, at k is equal to 390, the system is marginally stable, and also it is going to oscillate with the frequency of root 30 radians per second. But in the options they have given that here the auxiliary equation is 13s plus k is equal to 0, but that is not the case. The auxiliary equation is 13s square plus k is equal to 0. So therefore this has to be like this one, but in the question they are given auxiliary equation is 13s plus k. That is wrong. So therefore this has to be equal to 0. So therefore here finally what I am concluding is here, for the range of 0 to 390 the system is always stable. So therefore there are no zeros in any of the column, so we can conclude that system is stable. But if you want to figure out what k is equal to 390, yes, there is a one complete row as 0. So therefore the upper part will be auxiliary equation. By solving that we are going to get what are the poles roots which are going to lie on the imaginary axis. Then we can say if 2 are lying on the imaginary axis, out of 3 roots the other root may lie on the negative x-axis. So because of this the system will be a marginally stable, means it is going to oscillate for infinite time. The frequency of oscillations is root 30 radians per second. So this is the correct solution of this question. So now we are going to solve the 26th question. See the question here. The transfer function of the forward path of a unit feedback system is given by g of s is equal to k by s into s plus 1 into s plus 9. If the point s is equal to j3 lies on the root locus, then the value of k at this point is. So basically they are given a transfer function g of s and h of s. So based on this, if you draw the root locus, then there is a particular point at s is equal to j3. This root locus, this point is going to lie on the root locus, and then for this particular point what is the value of k we need to figure out. So out of the 4 options, option D 90, k for k is equal to 90, we are going to get one root which is s is equal to j3 we are going to get. So let's solve this numerical. So basically here this is the closed loop transfer function block diagram. So therefore here this is a negative feedback. So input is R of s and output is C of s. In the question they are given G of s is equal to k by s into s plus 1 into s plus 9, and also they are given H of s is equal to 1. So based on this here, they have told that suppose if s is equal to J3, which is going to lie on the root locus, then at that point, at that root, what is the value of the k, we need to figure out. So basically first we know the concept and then we can solve this question. So I want to find what is the transfer function of this total overall system, which is C of s by R of s is equal to G of s by 1 plus G of s into H of s. This downward part is called as the characteristic equation. So therefore characteristic equation is equal to 1 plus G of s, H of s is equal to 0. See, as G of s is a function of k, so as k varies, the roots are also going to vary. So if you plot all those roots for a k values, k range of values, the diagram we are going to get, that is called as the root locus diagram. So therefore I am going to take this one to the right side. So therefore G of s, H of s is equal to minus 1. As this is a complex number, so therefore it has a magnitude value and also it has the angle value. So therefore magnitude value and also angle value is equal to, as minus 1 we can write in terms of the polar form, which is magnitude is 1 and the angle is either plus or minus 180. So I am going to equate the magnitude part and also the angle part. So I am going to equate, I want only the magnitude part. So therefore the magnitude of the G of s, H of s is equal to 1. So therefore if any point which is going to lie on the root locus, then that point has to satisfy this magnitude value. The magnitude of G of s, H of s at that particular point, if any point is on the root locus, then this has to satisfy this property. Then only we can say that point is present on the root locus. So therefore here in the question they are given G of s and H of s. I want to product G of s, H of s. So finally we are going to get k by s plus 1 into s plus 9 into 1. It is nothing but same thing. So here, so I am going to replace s is equal to j omega. So in place of s, I substitute the j omega, and I want to know what is the magnitude value. So k is always a real number, so I can real. So here I have take the magnitude part. So magnitude of j omega is omega. So magnitude of j omega plus 1, which is under root over 1 square plus omega square, and magnitude of the j omega plus 9, which is under root over 9 square plus omega square. But in the question s is equal to 3j, it is going to satisfy in the root locus. So therefore the magnitude part has to be equal to 1. So in place of omega, substitute here 3. So k by 3 into 1 plus 3 square into root over 9 square is 81 plus 3 square is equal to 1. The magnitude part has to be equal to 1 because it is going to lie on the root locus as per the condition. So now if you solve this one, k by 3 into root over 1 plus 9, which is 10, root 10, and root over 81 plus 9, which is root over 90 is equal to 1. And if you simplify this one, finally we are going to get k is equal to 90. So we can conclude that for k is equal to 90, one root, which is J3, is going to lie on the root locus, as it is a third order equation, because 1, 2, 3, third order equation, remaining two also roots are also going to present, but we don't need to figure out. Only thing is one root is compulsory, J3 it is going to come because it is going to satisfy the condition. So finally what I am trying to say is at k is equal to 90 value, one of the three roots will be J3 and remaining three roots we don't know, but we can figure out by keeping it in this characteristic equation. But here for s is equal to J3, the k value will be 90. This is a correct solution of this question. If for every point in the root locus, they have to satisfy this condition, which is the magnitude value is equal to 1 and the angle part should be plus or minus 180. This is the correct solution of this question. So now we are going to solve the 27th question. See the question here. Which of the following is the time domain analysis method of control system? So what are the four options? We have to know which method is a time domain analysis. So what are the four options? Option B, root locus method, is the correct solution of this question, and now we'll discuss something more about this one. So now we'll discuss the first thing is what is the time domain analysis and the frequency domain analysis. So time domain analysis means here we are going to see the response of the input. So here C of t is the response of the system, and with respect to time we are going to see its response nature. With respect to time we are going to see. But in a frequency domain analysis, for any system here we are going to give a sinusoidal input, then what is the nature of the output we are going to see. So what is the response? Suppose if you are going to vary the range of the input frequency, then what is the nature of the output, what is the magnitude of the output, and also its phase angle we need to figure out. So therefore here with the respect to magnitude and the phase angle we can relate. So by changing the frequency of the input, so what is the variations in the magnitude and also phase angle we are going to figure out. For a few systems we can easily plot the we can easily figure out the transfer function with the help of the response. But another few systems which can be easily figured out with respect of frequency domain analysis, we can easily find the transfer function. So for uninterrupted systems, we are going to prefer the time domain analysis. For interrupted systems, we can go for the frequency domain analysis in order to figure out the transfer function based on the response. So because of these things, there are time domain methods and also frequency domain methods, which are the root locus method is given for the time domain analysis, and frequency domain methods are the Nyquist diagrams, Bode plot representations, and Nicholas chart. Because here we need the values of the magnitude, and also we have to know require the phase. So based on this, we can figure out the transfer function of any block diagram of for any system. So all these things we require the magnitude and also phase angle of the output. But whereas here we need the response of the system, means with respect to time, what is the nature of the response, means here k is a variable. So we are going to see what is the nature of the system as time goes on. We are going to obtain by the time domain methods. Whereas for the frequency domain analysis, we need the magnitude of the response and also what is the phase angle with respect to input of this output we are going to see. So these are the conditions which are required for the frequency domain methods, and these time constants, all these things we can figure out. So what is the time constant of the system, settling time, and what is the peak over time, all these things required. So with the help of root locus, we can figure out the settling time, TP value, we can, and the rise time, all these things we can easily figure out with the help of the root locus. So by using this, we can get at what time the system is going to settle, at what time we are going to get the rise time, at what time we are going to get the first peak overshoot, second overshoot, all these things we can figure out with the help of the root locus diagram. But by using this diagram, by using these methods, we can know what is the nature of the output for a given frequency and also phase angle with respect to input. All these things we can figure out. So for interrupted systems, we can figure out the transfer function with the help of time domain methods. For uninterrupted systems, we can figure out the transfer function with the help of the frequency domain analysis. So both have some advantages and also some disadvantages. So therefore these are the methods for time domain and also for the frequency domain analysis. So now we are going to solve the 28th question. See the question here. The transfer function known to be minimum phase of the system whose magnitude plot is shown in the figure. So based on this, we have to find what is the transfer function we need to figure out. The open loop transfer function we need to figure out. So what are the four options? Option B is the correct solution of this question. So let's solve this numerical. So this is a Bode plot diagram. For this Bode plot diagram, we have to find what is the transfer function. In the question they also given that this is a minimum phase system. Minimum phase transfer function means all the poles and all the zeros are going to lie on the left of the S plane. That is the meaning of the minimum transfer function. All the poles and the zeros are going to lie only purely on the LHS of S plane. So here, if you see here, the initial slope is minus 20 decibels per decade, and then we have got the 0 decibels per decade, and then there is a plus 20 decibels per decade. So initial slope is minus 20 decibels per decade. This is going to tell you there is a one pole at origin. So therefore here, after coming here, at the coming corner frequency 2, here we have to add here we have to add plus 20 decibels per decade. We have to add this to this minus 20 decibels per decade. So therefore plus 20 and minus 20 will become 0 decibels per decade. And after coming omega is equal to 10, here again there is a plus 20 decibels per decade. So if you want to get plus 20, we have to add plus 20 to 0. So therefore here you have to add plus 20 decibels per decade. You have to add to the 0, then only we can get the plus 20 decibels per decade after omega is equal to 10. So therefore here at one corner frequency you are adding plus 20 decibels per decade. At another corner frequency again you are adding one more plus 20 decibels per decade. Plus means 0. So we are going to add one 0 at 2 and the another 0 at 10. So therefore here one corner frequency is equal to 2 and the another corner frequency is equal to 10. I want to find what is the time constant. Time constant is the inverse of its corner frequency, which is 1 by omega c1, which is omega c1 is 2, so therefore 1 by 2. And similarly omega c2 is 10, so therefore time constant is inverse of that omega, so therefore 1 by 10. So therefore one constant is 1 by 2 and another constant is 1 by 10. And also here there is a 1 0 1 0 and also one pole at origin. So therefore there are two zeros and one pole at one pole. So therefore transfer function g of s h of s is equal to one pole another pole by there is a 0. So here T1, this is a standard form of writing in terms of the time constant form. This is a standard time constant form of the equation. So now replace T1 by 1 by 2 and T2 by 1 by 10. So this is what we are going to get, and after simplifying this, finally we are going to get K1 by 20 into S plus 2 into S plus 10 by S. So K1 by 20 I am going to assume it as K. So therefore K into S plus 2 into S plus 10 by S is the correct solution of this question. So this is the way we are going to get the transfer function, which is G of S H of S, open loop transfer function. See, minimum phase transfer function means if you see the pole is, so if you draw the pole 0 plot here, S is equal to origin is equal to, this is the origin pole, and S is equal to minus 10, S is equal to minus 10. So these are the poles. So you can see clearly there are all the poles and all the poles and zeros are the left half of S plane. So we can say this is a minimum phase transfer function. For any minimum phase transfer function, all the poles and zeros are lying purely on the LHS of S plane. This is a very, very important question which is asked in so many AE examinations also. So based on this, we have plotted this diagram and then we have figured out the transfer function, open loop transfer function of the system. So now we are going to solve the 29th question. See the question here. The polar plot of the transfer function G of S is equal to 1 by S into Ts plus 1. So as the interactions on apart from the origin. So apart from the origin, the polar plot for this transfer function, where it is going to cut at real axis and the imaginary axis, we need to figure out. So out of the 4 options, option A, neither the real axis nor the imaginary axis, means except 0, this graph is not going to cut at any point, imaginary and the real. So let's solve this numerical. So this is a transfer function they are given. For this we have to find what is the polar plot. Polar plot means the magnitude with respect to angle part we need to figure out. So here in place of S I am going to replace S by j omega. So therefore 1 by j omega into j omega t plus 1. So here this is a complex form. So I want to write in terms of magnitude and also angle. So magnitude is 1 by omega into under root over omega t square plus 1, and the angle part we are going to get minus 90 and minus sin inverse of omega t, because the angle part, suppose if you want to write what is the magnitude part, which is 1 by, here this is omega and this is under root over omega t whole square plus 1, and the angle part if you want to write here, this is omega means 90 and this is tan inverse of omega t. But if it goes to the upper part, so therefore this 1 means 1 angle 0, so if it goes to upper part we can write it is under root over minus 90 minus tan inverse of omega t. So this is the way I have written here. So therefore same thing I have written here. So now for omega is equal to 0 and omega is equal to infinity, I want to know what is the magnitude value and also angle part I need to figure out. So therefore when omega is equal to 0, so if I substitute omega is equal to 0, 1 by anything is 0 is called as an infinity, and here tan inverse 0 is again 0, so minus 90 minus 0 is again minus 90. So therefore when omega is equal to 0, the magnitude part is infinity and the angle part is minus 90. Suppose when omega is equal to infinity, what is going to happen? 1 by anything infinity is again 0, but here tan inverse omega t, so tan inverse infinity is 90 degree, so minus 90 minus 90 we are going to get minus 180, so therefore minus 180. So now with the basic of this one I want to draw the polar plot, which is sigma j omega. It is a polar plot. So I want to know the magnitude part. The magnitude part of mod of j, the magnitude part is here infinity at an angle of minus 90. So infinity at an angle of minus 90 means clockwise, so therefore this is a infinity at an angle of, this is at omega is equal to 0, and also at omega is equal to infinity we are going to get 0 at an angle of minus 180. So 0 means the magnitude part is 0 and the angle is minus 180. If you see carefully, as omega value increases, the tan inverse also goes on increases. So means theta value goes on increases. As theta value increases, this overall part also increases. So therefore minus 90, minus 91, minus 92, minus 93, like that. So but that is the reason it is like this one. This part goes on decreases. So finally we are going to get like this plot. If you see carefully, this line is going to touch only origin. It is not going to intersect the real axis or the imaginary axis. Imaginary axis or real axis, it is not going to intersect. So we can say this polar plot is not going to intersect any real axis or imaginary axis except at origin. So therefore this is the true meaning of this polar plot, means the magnitude and the angle part. With respect to magnitude and the angle part, we are going to draw this locus of each and every point we are going to draw. This is what we are going to get. So this is the last question of this lecture. See the question here. In force current analogy, the mass m in a mechanical system is analogous to dash in an electrical system. So in this question they are given that the force current analogy. So mass m in mechanical system is equivalent to what in an electrical system. So what are the four options? Option C, capacitance is the correct solution of this question. So let's solve this numerical. So before I solve this numerical, let me tell a small concept. After that we are going to solve this numerical. So we are going to solve the three systems. Basically mechanical system, rotational system, and also in electrical circuit we are going to discuss about the series circuit and the parallel circuit. So for the mechanical system, suppose there is a mass m. So for this mass there will be some friction of coefficient, which is the damping coefficient. It is not going to make the system to move in a forward direction, and also there is a spring constant K. Some amount of elasticity is going to present. So because of this, suppose I want to push this mass in the rightward direction, so therefore this is the velocity it is going to move. So now I want to write what are the equations. So net force, this force is equal to m into du by dt, which is acceleration, plus this force is going to get opposite, so therefore this is plus bv, plus k into integration of v dt. So this is the force because of the damping, which is this one, and this is the force because of the spring. So these are the forces we are going to write after this force value. So therefore velocity, so velocity is equal to rate of change of the distance, which is v is equal to dx by dt. So substitute here, we are going to get m d square x by dt square plus b into dx by dt. So when v is the derivative of x, then x will be integration of v. So therefore x is kx. So this is the thing we are going to get, the force. This is the net expression. So therefore we can conclude that this is the net expression for the mechanical system. So now for the rotational system I want to write here. So for the rotational system, suppose this is a body, I want to rotate with some torque. So this is the angle theta, it is going to move with some velocity omega, angular velocity omega. So therefore now I want to write what is the torque equation. So T is equal to J d omega by dt plus b omega, where because of some damping coefficient, and k into integration of omega dt because of some spring coefficients or because of some elasticity. So here omega is called as the angular velocity, so it is a rate of change of displacement. So theta is called as the displacement. So omega is equal to d theta by dt. So in place of omega, substitute this d theta by dt. So we are going to get T is equal to J d square theta by dt square plus b into d theta by dt. So when omega is the differentiation of the theta, so therefore theta will be integration, so into k into theta. So this is the net torque equation for this rotational system. But now we will see what is a series circuit, electrical circuit of series fashion. So this is a voltage, resistor, inductor and capacitor, and this is a current I. I want to write the next KVL equation. So voltage, we supply voltage is equal to L into di by dt, voltage across the inductor plus I into R, the voltage across the resistor plus 1 by C integration of I dt. This is the voltage across the capacitor. So here current is equal to rate of change of charge. So therefore I is equal to dq by dt. So in place of I, substitute dq by dt. So we are going to get like this one. So if current is the differentiation of the charge, so therefore charge will be integration of current. So here Q by C. This is the net voltage equation for a series RLC circuit. And now we will see for the parallel RLC circuit. So for parallel RLC circuit, we are going to write the net equation. So therefore now this is the current source and this is the voltage across the current source. So here the net current is equal to current through the capacitor, which is C into dV by dt, and the current through the resistor, which is V by R, and the current through the voltage through the inductor, which is 1 by L integration of V dt. So voltage is equal to rate of change of flux. So therefore in place of V I am going to substitute d phi by dt. So finally I am going to get I is equal to C into d square phi by dt square plus 1 by R in place of V d phi by dt, plus if voltage is a differentiation of flux, so therefore flux will be integration of the voltage, so therefore phi by L. This is a current expression for the parallel RLC circuit. So we have discussed about the three systems: mechanical system, rotational systems, and in electrical circuit we have discussed the series RLC and the parallel RLC. So now I want to equate each and everything. So the expression, the second order expression of each and everything is same for mechanical system and rotational system, and for series RLC and the parallel RLC. So if you see each and everything, the type, the second order type is very same. So therefore F is equal to T, T is equal to V, V is equal to I. So therefore I am going to equate each and everything because they are in same fashion. So therefore duality is same. So I want to find what is the duality of each and everything. So therefore here M represents mechanical system, R means rotational system, and S means series RLC circuit, and P means parallel RLC circuit. So here if you compare all these equations, all are in same fashion. So therefore T, F is equal to T, T is equal to V, and V is equal to I. So we can write like that. So F, T, V, I. F is the force in mechanical system, T torque in rotational system, V voltage in the series RLC circuit, and current in the parallel RLC circuit. And similarly here M is called as the mass in the mechanical system. Here J inertia in the rotational system, and L is the inductor in the series RLC circuit, and here capacitor in the parallel RLC circuit. So I am going to keep it here M, J, L, C. And next B. So B is the damping coefficient in the mechanical system, and B is the damping coefficient in the rotational system, and R is the resistance in the series RLC circuit. And here 1 by R is the resistor. 1 by R means conductance in the parallel RLC circuit. So I have B, R, 1 by R. 1 by R means G, conductance in the parallel circuit. And now K. Here K is a spring coefficient, spring constant in the mechanical system, and here also K, spring constant in the rotational system, and here 1 by C. Here 1 by C. So 1 by C is the net in the series RLC circuit, and here 1 by L. So therefore 1 by L is the inverse of the inductance. So I have made K, 1 by C, 1 by L. So here, and this is the velocity, and this is the angular velocity, and this is the current, and this is the voltage. So therefore again here this is the current. So again this is the displacement in the mechanical system, and this is the linear displacement, and this is the angular displacement, and this is the Q is the charge, and phi is the flux. So by comparing each and every equation, by each and every term, we are going to draw this one. We are going to make this table. So based on this, in the question they are given that if M is the mass, M in the mass in the mechanical system is equivalent to, so M in the mass in the mechanical system is equivalent to what value in the electrical system. So series and parallel both are RLC circuit, whether it can be capacitance or whether it can be inductance. So therefore out of the options only capacitance is there. So therefore this is the correct solution of this question. See, these both are only electrical circuits, but only thing is the fashion is different. This is series RLC and the parallel RLC circuit. So in the question they are told that mass in mechanical system is equivalent to whether it is inductor in a series RLC circuit, or we can say capacitance in a parallel RLC circuit. So therefore only capacitance is present in the question. Suppose if they ask what is the force in mechanical system, if it is value what is equivalent in electrical system, whether it can be voltage or current. So based on this you have to make an answer. So this is a very much important. If you know this table, then it is very easy to solve this type of questions. And these equations you have to remember, then you can make this table. Even if you forgot it, you can make this table in a very fraction of seconds, and then you can compare these terms, and then you can solve this question. So by this lecture we have successfully completed the 30 questions of the AP SPDCL 2019 of AE of EE in a very detailed manner. And if you like the content of our channel, then please do like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon button so whenever you upload a new video, the direct notification comes for a while. If any improvements needed in our lectures, then please do comment in the comment section. We will definitely include all those improvements in the coming lectures. Thank you so much for watching this lecture. Keep smiling, take care, and bye bye.